The transfer portal is closed, so take a breath and listen in to the Bluejays podcast.
Heads up, it's the Bluejays podcast, the voice of the Creighton basketball fan. With your hosts, Jimmy Allen, Alex Drake, and Casey Matthews. Join the crew and meet CU players, coaches, and a whole lot more. Now, the Bluejays podcast. Here's Jimmy Allen.
Welcome into another edition of the Bluejays podcast on the Big East Energy Network, and we're brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing and Pyramid Contractors. We're your hosts, Casey Matthews, Alex Drake. Our main man, Jimmy, he's spending every last dollar he has at Disney, so we really need you to subscribe, like, follow us on socials. Just give us money so we can help the guy out because he's going to be dead broke here when he gets back. But thanks for joining us for another episode, Alex. The portal is finally closed after weeks of, it seems like, just daily refreshing multiple times a day of Twitter and every other source we might have. I'm not saying we can stop because there's still potential incomers, but at least we know there's nobody outgoing. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, to me, this is where the portal gets the most interesting, right? Because you have some teams that may have, passed on a couple of guys thinking somebody else might enter the portal, whether they were talking backroom deals or whatever. And that guy didn't enter the portal, or he announced he was going to say whatever it may be. And now you have that finite number of guys, who's there, and everybody's going after them, right? Like that to me is what makes it the most interesting. And then you have teams like, obviously Creighton landed Owen Freeman, and they got Nick Graves, Josh Dix, and Swartz, Austin.
Austin,
Austin. They got all those guys, but what about the teams that they were competing with? Like,
sure,
they missed everybody who missed out on Josh Dix, who has to go to option 2 or even 3, whatever it is. Some of those guys are going to get overpaid because they can't afford to miss out twice.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, I think what's exciting for us is that, at that time, and I still think he's high up there, but at that time, Owen Freeman had to be the best big in the portal. We got him. And then I still think on many, many lists, Josh Dix is, if not the top, he's in the top 5 wing, shooting guard, whatever you want to refer to him as, that was in the portal. And to get both of those guys, for us, I think that's a huge win. I talked about it actually a little bit today with Mark on the Big East Weekly show about how, like, one of the best parts of Owen Freeman is that it's not a huge drop off. It is, but it isn't, right, from Kalk. Like, you're expecting, when you lose a generational talent like him, who do you replace that guy with, right? And you're able to go out and get an Owen Freeman that, I'm not saying it's plug and play because it's clearly not. But you're, at least it's not a massive drop off like it could be, and at that position for us, that's huge. So I like what you're saying. I think I think the things that are exciting for us is, listen, as good as Mac is, and as good as a staff as we have and a program we have, you just never know if someone's going to go in the portal. I still have PTSD from Ryan Nemhard and his deal, and the night before he leaves, he's literally watching, he's watching the Final Four games, or wasn't even the national championship game. Yeah. With one of the assistant coaches, talking about next year. And then the next day he's out, and it's shocking. But it happens. And it very well could have happened with the Jackson McAndrew.
Yeah, very easily.
Somebody had to be tampering with him, right? Like, I just don't see how a kid that talented doesn't get phone calls, and at least, like, exploring if he's interested in looking at anything else. And I think it speaks volumes about Coach Mack. I think it speaks volumes about Coach Huss, because when you know that there's a chance now that you're not playing for this guy moving forward, you got to think about that. And
Yeah.
remember now, Jackson hasn't played for Huss.
Yeah.
So what a job they must have done introducing Coach Huss to him and the family. And I think it speaks volumes. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, I was gonna say it's to me the transfer portal has totally changed the name, not the name, but the topic of discussion here. It used to be not necessarily Jackson McAndrew this year, but like let's go back to Doug McDermott, right? After
Mhm.
junior year when everybody thought he might leave for the draft and he decided to come back. Like that discussion, not just with Doug, but that's like the most recent guy you can have that conversation with about Creighton. I mean, I guess you could do Tyshawn and Trey and Baylor too. Like it used to be, hey, you can really okay, you know what? I'm going to go back. Justin Patton's the perfect guy to have this conversation about.
Okay.
Justin Patton left for the draft because he really couldn't do too much to improve his stock beyond, get stronger. But so much of his stock was based on potential, right? He was 7-footer, could move, could shoot. And if you stay an extra year, the conversation used to be if you stayed, you could get hurt and miss out on a payday.
Absolutely.
You could drastically hurt your draft stock. Now, for a guy like Jackson McAndrew, it's like, if Huss takes over and I don't really have a good year, am I going to be able to get paid by the next school if I ever leave? And that's not saying Jackson's going to leave, right? But like, I think now your conversation is, it's not just about the draft. It is about next year and which program you're going to play for. And do these coaching staff changes hurt your ability to go maybe get a payday? Because I mean, we've talked about this numerous times. We love Stephen Ashworth, right? Stephen Ashworth is likely like it's going to be a while unless he lands a pretty good overseas contract. It's going to be a while before he gets paid like he probably was at Creighton, and not necessarily Stephen, but a lot of athletes like that. Like some of these guys are never going to see this kind of money ever again.
Sure.
Or at least from a guaranteed aspect.
Yeah, I think Steven is one thing I know about Stephen Ashworth is he's going to find a way to make money, whether it's hooping or not.
Yeah.
But I see what you're saying for sure. I mean, I think the interesting thing is, listen, you can transfer next year, right? So it's not like this is his one chance to transfer, and we're talking specifically about Jackson McAndrew. But I just mean for him to when we talked about this, actually, I don't know if it was me and you or maybe it was Mark on the weekly show about this idea of a discount almost in perpetuity when you sign a freshman. And my thought process there is that freshmen now, unless you're a top, 25 kid, right? You're just not making as much money as these transfers are making.
Yeah.
And there's less and less opportunities for high school kids now. So when you get a high school kid like a Jackson, and you're not paying him what you would be paying a transfer to come in, so your starting number is already lower.
Yeah.
So any increase that you're getting year to year, you started off at a lower number. That's what's interesting to me. Now, who knows what I don't know what his NIL is. I know enough to know that Coach Mack is going to take care of the players on our team. So I don't think that anybody should feel bad in any ways for Jackson in terms of what he could be making in NIL. I'm sure he's doing just fine. However, I think I could say with pretty good certainty he could have made more money somewhere else, but chose to come back and play for Coach Mack and commit to Creighton all over again, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And not just him, Jason Green, Isaac Trout. Who am I missing? Shane, like all those
Shane,
guys that decided to come back.
Ty
Davis, that's another good one. Sorry, Ty. So I just think in this day and age, certainly we lost some guys in the portal, but the guys that we lost, I get it.
Each one makes sense.
Didn't they all go to Murray?
No, I mean, Pops went to Houston, but
oh yeah, you're right. Pop went to Houston, but like for the most part, it kind of makes sense, right?
So,
and go ahead.
No, go ahead and finish. I just have a question I want to run by you.
Yeah, no, I guess the point I'm trying to make is just that, like, in this day and age to be able to maintain some continuity on your roster, I just think it speaks a lot about where our program's at, where Coach Mack is, and also the respect that these guys have for Coach Huss, and that they're here and that they're not worried, I guess, and why would you be? Because Mac's going to be here this year for sure, and maybe beyond that. But there had to be people in these guys' ears like, hey, you sure you want to stick around there? I know the situation is going to be here long term, because then I do think that's when you transfer and then you do make more money. When you leave. So I don't know. We can beat the dead horse, but I just think I think it looks really good on the Jays where we're at with this roster.
I totally agree. Now, just because you brought up transfers are making more money. There's less and less opportunities, specifically at the Power 4 schools for freshmen to come in. I have on other shows brought this up about football, and with their new roster limits, and now basketball has new roster limits too. I foresee this world. I think it's going to take time and it's going to take some finessing. But do you ever foresee a world where there is a guy that typically would have maybe gone junior college and he goes to a small 4-year, but like the SEC was known for this in football for a while, where they had a couple of junior colleges that were feeders. Do you ever see some of the smaller schools becoming regular feeders for Power 4 programs where the coaches get along and they run similar styles?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think, I worked in the Summit League, as you know, for a few years, and I actually posed this exact thought 2 years ago. I was still in it. Maybe it was 3 years ago. To a couple of guys that I know in that league when the portal stuff was starting to really get hot. Is why wouldn't you recruit guys into your school at that level and tell them, listen, you come here for 2 years, we're going to play you, you're going to get minutes right away, we're going to let you work through some things, we're going to develop you, and then we're going to help you get to that high major level. Because if you don't take it that way and you just think that you live in this perfect world where nobody's going to leave your roster, then you're stuck without any, because you've tricked yourself, you fooled yourself into believing now that no one's going to leave. But when you go into it preparing for them to leave, you can have a plan. And I think it allows you to recruit a little bit of a higher tier player that is willing to do that because they want to play the minutes. They don't want to go to a high major school and just get spot minutes. They want to start. They want to make mistakes. But Alex, the only thing that's different now is with JUCO, you're getting that eligibility still. And that's what I'm interested to see
is that 100% settled yet?
I don't know if it's 100%, but there's going to be something to it. And so I think some of these kids.
So here's the thing about JUCO though, Casey. Like they changed the rules years ago. You have to graduate from a JUCO. You have to
unless you're a qualifier. So if you're a qualifier, you can leave after your first year.
Okay.
So, and that's where I feel like if you can go to a JUCO for a year and still have all 4 years of NCAA eligibility, go for 2. And now it just depends on the JUCO. Because
you have to play in the right league, right?
And there's some JUCOs that you just don't want to go to. You don't want to be part of, and you'd rather just sacrifice, I'd have a couple more years of eligibility, but financially, think about that, dude.
But if you here's how I'm seeing this play out, Casey. Like this is like my perfect world vision of how this would work. Like, let's take Omaha or South Dakota State or any of those programs. And Creighton's recruiting XYZ kid, and we're like, hey, we're not 100% sure that we have a spot where you'll get to play. But we have a great relationship with the coaches at Omaha, or the coaches at South Dakota State. They're going to develop you. You're going to get a chance. We're going to play you every year, and you kind of work that out with the athletic department. It's like, hey, we'll pay you X amount of money to come in. Let us, wipe the floor with you. Get your better players exposure, and then that not a pay for play, but like that's how you fund their NIL by getting those mop up games.
To do what though? To recruit their players or just to
that's what I'm saying. Like a feeder program, like the SEC, like 4 SEC schools picked from the same 3 JUCOs for a long time in football.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I think it could work that way in college basketball with group of 5 schools.
Yeah, certainly. I think it's harder to do though in JUCO because you can hide kids in JUCO, and versus at this level, just especially with TV and if you do play those buy games and the kid plays well, he's going to blow up, right? So yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. Speaking of guys that like had some success early on in the season and then left us. Pop Isaacs versus Josh Dix. Where you at? What do you think? I mean, I'm interested in how you think from a basketball perspective only, how does this how do they compare? What do you think? Like, are we better? Are we worse? Are we the same? What do you think?
I think we're better at that 2 spot automatically. Now,
why?
I like a lot more of what Josh Dix can in theory provide. Now, he wasn't a great defender this year, but Iowa as a program wasn't a great defender. And I think what Creighton wants to do defensively fits that style a little bit better. But he's bigger. He can, if he buys into defending, he has the ability to. Like, it's all about a fit. And we talked about it a ton. Like last year's Creighton team, that was the theme, was guys were together, and no shot at Pop, but Josh Dix doesn't appear to me from the outside looking in that there's any sort of baggage that would take away from basketball, and B, that he obviously was willing to make the decision to, hey, I'm going to be a part of whatever they built last year. I think he's a little bit more of a consistent shooter. He's not as much of a volume shooter or a volume scorer. I definitely like that he's not as much of a volume shooter, because I think there's more pieces that will help him flourish. I think he fits what we want to do a little bit better. He doesn't get to the rim at the same rate that Pop was able to, but he finishes well at the rim. He shoots well. He can distribute really well, and he's just a bigger guard. And you know how I feel about that. I wanted some bigger guards. So
you got your wish.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody about it today. I'm thrilled with our portal haul.
Yeah, no, I am too. I think where I'm at with it is the ceiling for Josh versus Pop is probably lower, but I think the floor is much higher. And I think what we get from Josh on both sides of the floor, I'm pretty excited about. I mean, his length, like we talk, I mean, he's a legit 6'5", whereas Pop was smaller than his listed 6'2", in my opinion.
I have no doubt about it.
Yeah, which everybody is. I'm not taking a shot at all. Pop. I mean, I think he came in here. He was from all accounts a model citizen here, and played hard. Unfortunate injury, but had some big moments. I mean, a huge part of us winning that Kansas game. So all the best to him, his family, moving forward. But when you turn the page, you look at Josh. You look at. I mean, I was looking at this today. So the highest as a guard, I think he was the highest field goal percentage guard in the Big Ten. Obviously he's got that length. He can shoot. Coach Mack's excited about his ability to see over defenders and make plays for other people. Last time I talked to one of the guys on the staff, they said he's a better passer than you'd think. I think he adds a lot. He's a local kid, which I love. I do love that. I even when we had Sharif, here you got Jason Green. It's like, it's nice to have these. It's nice to have the local kids. You can't have them all. You can't take them all, but it's nice to have the really, really good ones. On your roster. And the
crowd is definitely different when they play well.
100%. 100%. I mean, from a shooting perspective, I think it's I think it's close. I think Josh probably moves better and can play better without the basketball.
Yes.
And when you have a Graves, at point, you're still obviously Owen Freeman's going to be a big part of your offense. But you look at what Steven did off the ball movement. It's an absolute staple and pillar of Coach Mack's offense. So
yeah,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and two, like I think about how many guard-to-guard ball screens we did this year. Josh Dix and Nick Graves doing those together. Those are going to be better screens than Jemiah Neal and Stephen Ashworth. Like they just it should be from a side
different. It'll be different though because I don't know. I know what you're saying. Because if you're setting true ball screens, you're gonna switch, which I'm actually a proponent of. Guard to guard ball. I love guard to guard ball screens, and I actually, a lot of people say why they're just gonna switch. My argument's always been, well, if they wanted that matchup, they would have put that matchup to start. So if you're making them switch, they're doing something already that they don't want to do. So I've always been fine with guard to guard ball screens. Where Steven was so good was ghosting ball screens and running in, making you think he's going to set it, and then he gets out, and now it's a communication issue. And you've got to have guys talking on the switch or not switching, and that's where it becomes a problem. I don't know, Alex. I don't know if these guys will have that same ability to ghost screens like that. But you very well could be right. I'm excited to watch it. I know.
Well, I think with Josh Dix, and I love Jemiah. I was a Jemiah guy day one.
Yeah, you were.
I think when Josh Dix goes and sets those screens, like the way he's built versus Jemiah, like if it is a smaller guard, even though it's at the perimeter, he can use his body to create an advantage.
Yeah.
In a different way. And I think Josh Dix too can probably go post up smaller guards in the paint. Like
I hope so.
I haven't seen it a ton, but he has the build to take advantage.
Yeah. I hope you're right.
So
I hope you're right. So overall, we're in agreement, right? We're in agreement on this one. We think we upgraded, on this one.
And I'm glad you brought up the movement without the ball. I was trying to find the words. Like, I just at times last year, even with Steven and Jemiah, the ball just got sticky at times last year. It wasn't moving the way we're used to seeing it move.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to be an issue this year. I really don't. I'm excited to see this offense and excited to see how it changes too. Also with Owen Freeman, another guy that could potentially change this offense would be Blake Harper. Been rumored to the Jays. We had him on a visit. Ohio State's in on him. There's a few other schools I know that were in his Final Four. It's been really quiet lately. I'm not a big social media guy, Alex, as you know. I don't keep my ear to the social media streets, other than I do try to check up on some Jays news, but I don't really get into the rumors and all that stuff too much. So are you hearing anything out there on our guy Blake Harper? Like, is he going to be a Jay, or what's going on?
Man, I would love for him to be a J, right? I think there's a lot of great reasons for him to be a J. But I also think there's some really good reasons for him to turn the Jays down, and that's not a shot at Creighton.
Yeah,
it's
give
more of a
give him to me. Give me two reasons he should be a J. One reason he shouldn't.
Two reasons he should be a J is because he would fit into this offense seamlessly. Like 6'8", could shoot the ball, handle the ball. I mean, he is just really good. Two reasons he shouldn't be a J.
Well, that was one, Alex. That was one. We said two reasons he should.
Two why.
Listen to anybody listening right now and watching this. Alex has an excuse. He's stressed to the nines. We got a baby coming any day here. He's got a lot going on. So give him a break. But Alex, it was two reasons he should. One he shouldn't. Okay. You've already covered one that he should. We got one more he should, one more he shouldn't, and we're good.
Well, I mean, you get to play in the Big East. That's
okay.
Number two. Like,
okay.
Even though the Big East has not performed in early non-conference the last couple of years, it's still one of the premier. I'll say the premier two conferences right now. ACC is in and out of there for me. Same with the Big 12, But right now it's the SEC and the Big East. Those are the two top dogs.
Really? Over the
I
Big
mean,
Ten. I love it. I'm obviously, hey, we're part of the Big East Energy Podcast
hey,
Network. We're pro Big East here.
But before I go, why he wouldn't be a J? I'm very much a Big Ten hater when it comes to basketball. I think they play on average, most of the teams play a really boring style of basketball.
Agreed.
It's like football on the hardwood, and they almost always underachieve in March. They haven't won a national title since like 2002, unless you give them credit for Maryland in 2005, I think it was, when they were part of the ACC. Now that doesn't take away from the fact that they have really good teams, but I think to be in the top three at least, you have to have won a title sometime in the last 20 years, which they haven't.
Okay.
And
so you're not necessarily saying this year or just in general, you think the East is a better league.
I mean, we've won four out of the last 11.
Yeah, I don't even know it, Alex. I'm sorry. I wasn't prepared for this one.
No, Nova has 2, UConn has 2. So I mean, yeah, that's where I'm at with it. Now that I will be honest, I'm surprised the SEC has made the jump that they have in recent years. SEC used to be on the outside looking at it. So, but one reason why he shouldn't or wouldn't become a J is just the current roster, right? I mean,
yeah.
Fighting with, depending on where you want to play him, because he has the ability to play multiple positions, but he's fighting at the 3 spot. He's fighting with Fedor, minutes with Josh Dix, bouncing back and forth. Austin Schwartz at the 2 and the 3. Like, I guess, I mean, but the flexibility that he has allows him to play a bunch of different positions. But at the 4, now you're fighting with IP, Jason Green again, and Jackson McAndrew. I guess you could go small ball 5 and find him minutes there. I mean, he does have some flexibility, which will allow him to showcase a lot of his skills, which then goes back into why wouldn't you come to Creighton, right?
Right.
But, I just, from a money aspect and the current roster makeup, I would understand why he doesn't choose Creighton.
Sure. Yeah. It's interesting because it's been quiet. You know, I did ask one of the guys, and they said they really haven't heard anything in a little bit. I expect he'd make his decision, this week. But I think he'd be very wise to come here. And my reasoning is when you look and see what we've been able to do with big wings that can shoot it like he can, I think this is a perfect place for him. I think staff knows how to use guys like that. I think the community and the fans would welcome him with open arms. I understand that the roster is deep. My thing is this, man. If you're a college basketball player and you think you're good, bet on yourself. Go somewhere that you're going to be pushed, and go somewhere that you're going to be challenged. Don't be afraid of that challenge. Mm-hmm. If you think you can hoop, and you think this is a place that can utilize you and make you a better ball player and maybe potentially help you get to the next level in your career, don't be afraid of who else is on the roster. Just worry about yourself. And I think if he's a guy that ends up coming here, I think that speaks volumes about him and about his belief in himself and what he is going to be able to accomplish, wearing a Creighton jersey. So I think we kind of put the bow on that. You got anything else to add before we wrap?
I mean, for me, if he does sign with Creighton, let's go ahead and book our Final Four tickets in advance, because I feel really good about that roster.
All right. Breaking news. Blake Harper is the key to the Final Four for the Bluejays. So we'll put that down in writing.
Definitely the Elite Eight.
Sign. Okay, we're back, fella. Let's get off here before we're barely sneaking into the tournament. Hey, this is another episode of the Roll Jays podcast, Jimmy. And we are brought to you and powered by the Big East Energy Podcast Network. Please subscribe, like, comment. Please, we got to make some money for Jimmy. I'm telling you, the guy's going to be absolutely broke. This episode sponsored by Pixel Fire Marketing and Pyramid Contractors. Thanks for listening. We'll see you again in a few days.